Welcome back to Speedicalc. In this video, we're going to show week 1, which is our active project, meaning our project just started. So in the previous video, you want to be sure you check that out because that's when we planned our project and we have all of this information that we're looking at already filled in and how we filled it out. So now let's take a look at our inputs, and you see that it's you don't see a yellow line, and that's because we're in the planning phase. But once we get into the actual project, and let's take a look, these are our weeks in the project. So first week's going to be in this July 14th to the 20th. So let's go ahead and let's just call this to the end of the week, or we could even just say Friday. So Friday is that first week, and you see how this highlighted automatically. Now just to show you, right, so if I go to the next week and I put just 29, just for example, just another date, see how it jumps down? So that tells you where you're at, and that's the active period. So we want to, let's go back and let's undo that. And so here we are in our first week of the project. So we need to take a look at what was actually completed this week, and that's what we put in our actual. And of course, what was actually done, we can't have a forecast, right? We can't have both. So what was forecasted is in the future, and let's say that we actually got 26% done. So we're 1 over, so this needs to come down by a percentage, right? Or yeah, or we could, yeah, you could do a variation. Maybe you have a forecast that's different, but just to show this, okay? Now we go over here, and the cost that was paid, well, it was 20 grand, so they did 1% more. Maybe it's 21,000. Okay, something like that. That goes away, and then you do the adjustment wherever it needs to be. And then your plan would remain the same. Most likely, of course, you can change this, and the baseline likely would not change, but you have the ability to change if you do have changes and the plan changes, which it very well could, and in most cases will. Then you update this, and you have that ability. But let's assume everything is still as planned. Now we go over here, or we want to keep this as planned and measure against it. We go to our next activity, activity B, and let's say this one didn't do as well. Let's just call it 20%. This one goes away, and we have 5% more that we need to catch up on. Let's say we're going to catch it up on the back end, 0.1. 10%. Now we're at 100, and because it was less, we didn't pay as much, so maybe it was just 50 grand. Okay, and then that goes away, and then you need to make that adjustment, and it's going to be later, so let's call it 65 grand down here. So that goes away, and we'll leave this. And then we go to our activity C and do the same type of scenario. So we didn't have anything planned to be done, and nothing was done, let's say. This one should have been 300,000. Let's see. Let's go ahead and make this adjustment across the board, just so we have the right amount that we planned for. Now we have 300 across the board. And then let's say 10 grand was planned to be done. Let's say it was 6. Okay, and then we have 4 grand that we need to make up somewhere, and let's say it's here in the next week. All right, so we're square there, and then nothing is planned further down the road, so we'll leave it as is, and that's it. So we've made our update in our first week, and we're done with our project. Now we go and we see what does our project look like from the status side. So let's go ahead and take a look at our data file. We'll pull this up, and what you see now in this main page that we saw with all the plan, and we can go across here, right? And let me just really quick jump to the other one just so you can see, right? So the main page, we had our plan and we had our baseline, right? So let's scooch over, and we got our baseline here, and then when we go beyond that, there's nothing. Okay, but in the same similar kind of look, what we have on the data file is we actually have all the information calculated for us, and it's all in this list format, which is really nice. So the critical path method, all the early start, early finish, late start, late finish, that information is here with the dates. Critical path telling us what's critical path, what's float, how many days of float. Okay, and let's keep going. What's actually done, We haven't gotten into that because, or actually we did do it. We just updated. So here we are. These are the new dates. These are the percent total, right? And this is duration. This is all provided here. We have our cost, which is the same budget. And then we have all of our earned value information. We have the actual cost. We have the planned value. So you have to see this variation, to see the cost variance, see the schedule variance, the earned value, and the CPI, SPI, budgeted completion, estimated completion with different scenarios. At the top are the totals, and down here is each activity. That's what this number is up here at the top. So all this information is provided. And it's automatically calculated, right? We just saw it happen right before our eyes. So it's instantly done. If I go in and make changes on the other file, we could do that, and you could see these adjust now automatically. So the budget, under budget, I had a schedule, over budget, behind schedule, and so on. This is not applicable, and because I don't think there's anything due at the time. Let's see, and this is behind schedule, on budget, on schedule, which didn't even start right. And then you have your late finish information. So this is all here, and then we have our baseline information that pulls over as well. So all of that earned value information, that if you were to do that by hand or another method, which is most likely more on the manual side, it's going to take a long time, and you have that very high probability of user error, especially when you're working late or you're in a crunch, and your project is much larger than just 4 activities, right? So when you're making changes and doing that, this is extremely valuable to have. Okay, now let's take a look at inputs. Inputs is just pulling everything over to what we had before, so we can take a look. So it's just what we have on our user file, but it's all pulled over here into this one file. Our dashboard tells us where we're at right now in our project. We're in budget. This is our budget. This is what we spent. This is what we had planned to spend at this point in time on this data date. This is the earned value, all on this data date. Schedule, and it's in progress, and here is the period of the schedule, right? Start and finish dates. Here we have our table, and it's been adjusted appropriately. We have the percentages, actual now is populated, forecast, and then we have our schedule and budget information, right? So it's all here. And let's go to our CPI, SPI. So here's the project at the top. We saw that in the dashboard. And then we have each activity down here. In progress, behind schedule, over budget. So all these adjustments have been done automatically, right, to the second decimal point. Now this one says it's behind schedule and it hasn't started yet, because in earned value, if you made payments for any activity or work that hasn't even been done, then that's going to give you a negative value. And all of the CPI and SPI, as you may know, is based off of earned value. It's an earned value calculation that takes that into account. So because we paid, saying over budget, based off of work done, which was no work done and money out the door, that's why it says that. So if it was vice versa and we had work done and we didn't pay for it, then it would go green. And that's that balance, right? And this hasn't started yet, so that's still at 1. And then our Gantt chart has been updated, but now we have percentages of what's actually completed versus what was planned to be complete. And we have all of these dates with their adjustments, and the Gantt chart is done for us. The earned value. So this is the planned value, and the reason why we don't see an actual and earned value, because we're in just our first week. So in our first week, if you think about it from a chart perspective, it's only a specific, we're doing it by week, so it's a value at that week. And the next week, this is really going to light up. We're going to see all this, because in a chart, right, you need to have 2 points to draw a line. And so right now we just have 1 point. And in Excel, we don't have you know, something that can give an indicator like just a dot or something like that. So we got to wait for a second value to have that line to be drawn between the two values to show it in a chart. That's why you don't see these, okay? Just an FYI, and not to freak out. All right, and but we do have the values right elsewhere in our software, so you always have the information. Here is the combo. All right, so this is the budget schedule laid on top of one another, and of course on the schedule side, and we can see that here, the red line is the late finish. The colors actually are based on representations of what's pretty standard, I would say, in the industry, where baseline is gray, late finish is red, a planned is usually like a light blue, green is the forecast, and a dark blue, which we'll see in the next video when we have the two lines that connect to one another for two separate values. That is in this darker blue color. We've already been through the critical path, and that didn't change. We didn't change any sequence of activities, so that's the same. And then the WBS we reviewed in the last file as well, so those adjustments are made based off of the information that we have, that we've entered in, right? So it pulls over and everything is adjusted accordingly. And that's it. So we have everything for our first week, and now we're ready to get into our second week. So let's take a look at that, and I'll see you in the next video.